Hi everyone, I'm David Gross with Condi Systems, back with you to share a little bit of our wisdom for sublimation success. Well, this is our Education Wednesday, and whether you're watching this live or watching the stream broadcast on YouTube or Facebook, we certainly welcome you. Today we have as our special guest Kurt Benton. Kurt is a field representative with Universal Woods, and he is in the field in the Vegas office of Universal Woods. How are you, Kurt?
I'm only doing fantastic, but don't worry, I'll get better.
Yeah, so Kurt just dropped off his daughter. Is this her first year at college?
This is her first year at college.
Well,
Yep.
that's a tough one. And I'm sure you took lots of ChromaLuxe panels with you to decorate her room, right?
Well, not just yet. She's living in an off-campus facility that is they're very particular about putting holes in the wall. So we're very excited about a new ChromaLuxe product coming up in the near future that will allow us to mount those on the walls without any holes. So that's something to look forward to.
That's very exciting. So today's broadcast is Kurt is going to educate us on what are the options for mounting ChromaLuxe to the wall, and what are the different choices to do that. And then what we want to do is provide you a special offer for our clients that watch this through. So Kurt, tell us just a little bit about what is ChromaLuxe.
ChromaLux is an American-made product. Essentially, is a very high-end photographic, graphic arts print medium that uses the technology of dye sublimation to render truly amazing, vibrant metal prints. Now, when you talk about metal prints, a lot of people think you're printing on the metal. But what dye sublimation, as obviously David, who's one of the founders in the field, knows, is the application of inks to a specially prepared technical media. I prefer to call it a technical media because the technology behind the panels is truly amazing. Where the ink is heated from a transfer to 400 degrees, 375 to 400 degrees, it becomes a gas and it bonds with the material on the metal panel. The dye sublimation is truly one of the growing markets for fine art photography, fine art. One of the most effective solutions for hospitals and healthcare centers because of its cleanability. You can wipe it down with Windex, with just about any cleaning agent. It is a natural germicidal surface, so you don't have to worry about it. In fact, if you go into most Chili's restaurants these days, you'll see the artwork on the wall is all dye sublimated. Now it's on a wood panel, but it's all dye sublimated because of the cleaning ability. One of the key elements, because metal panels, such as this great photo of my little dog, his name is Stitch, and he is a Shimapu, which is a Shih Tzu Maltese poodle. But my wife did this great little panel featuring him. And one of the elements is that if you turn it sideways, it almost disappears. It's very thin. It's very lightweight. So it's not like you can just put a tack in it and put it in the wall like a poster. You can't just throw it up there and expect it to really pop. So there are two elements that you want when you're hanging a metal panel. You want, the first thing is a relief from the wall. A lot of people would, see something if it had no relief and think it's just a poster. But if you look at most artwork, it's either framed or has some type of a relief. So all the products that we're going to be talking about today provide relief from the wall or an offset from the wall. The second thing you want is obviously the ability to use a tack or a nail or a screw in the wall to properly hang your artwork. So each of the products that we'll be looking at today from ChromaLuxe, from Unisub, and available through Condi have that ability. The interesting thing is the products that we'll be looking at today all use what's called Vhb tape. And Vhb stands for very high bond, and it's very strong double stick tape, to make it really super simple. The key, though, when you're working with very high bond or Vhb tape, is that you need to apply pressure to activate it fully. And if you simply push it up against it and kind of let it sit for a few minutes, you will not get a strong permanent bond with that hanger. So when you do apply the hanger, make sure to apply pressure from the back and from the front, and give it about 12 to 24 hours to cure and become permanent before you hang it on the wall. So we're going to go through each of the options that are currently available through Condi. As I mentioned earlier in this video, we will be having some non-nail or, some products in the near future that are available for mounting on your wall without the nails. But for right now, first one I want to start off with is U5902. And this is a simple MDF block that has a keyhole in it. Once you put the nail or screw in the wall, you simply enter the head of the nail through the large end and slide it so it fits in the center. Now, I generally recommend that you have some kind of a spacer to ensure that you get the hanger at the proper distance from the edge of the panel. Additionally, if your panel is larger than, say, an 8x10, which would be sufficient for this, you will need what we call a spacer block. This is a supplemental piece that will mount lower on the panel to ensure that you don't have a panel that's rocking back and forth on the wall. So it's a two-part piece. If you had a very large panel, you could use 2 sets of these, one on each side. So in addition to the 5902, we offer a black mounted option if you want something a little more classy, slightly larger. It's 5x5. This part number is U4006. The adhesive is the same. You just peel off the sticker on the back. And this is the hanger that we're going to use on Stitch's panel today. So the first thing I'm going to do is I typically like to use a utility knife. Simply pick up the corner of the tape adhesive liner, remove that. Once again, very simple. Make sure that you're using the right side, so the right side is up, or the correct side. I'm going to use this as a spacer block to make sure I'm equal across the top. And then I'm going to simply apply the hanger to the back of the panel. Now, what did I say? We need pressure and time, right? So I'm going to make sure to put some pressure on the front to make sure that we have proper adhesion with that double stick tape. And then I'm also going to press it on the back. It's important that you let these adhesives sit before putting weight on them. Now, I don't think that it would be a significant issue with something of this size, but if you're hanging a 16x20, a 16x24, 24x36, you're certainly going to want to allow those tapes some time to completely adhere to the panel. You don't want them falling off the wall. That's uncommon, but if you don't provide enough pressure and if you don't provide enough time, that double stick tape will not properly adhere to the panel.
Let me ask you a question, Kurt. So
Sure.
as a safety measure, if you will, we lost your video, but as a safety measure, do you recommend, cleaning the back of the metal, say with denatured alcohol, or scratching it or something to make sure we've got a good spot to put it?
I don't necessarily know that I would want to scratch it, simply because there's the possibility that your pressure is going to bend the panel. But at the same time, it would be a great idea to clean it with the denatured alcohol, before applying the adhesive to it. You do want to make sure that you're applying the adhesives to a clean, dry surface.
Right. In addition,
I'm sorry, that's so second nature for me, and I cleaned that one even before I pulled it out, that I totally forgot.
and I sort of guessed that. Also, I know some people put a little extra bead of glue on the back where the tape is not, just as a safety measure, you know, in say very high humidity environments.
Well, that really depends on the type of glue. Glue can actually be measured in a thickness. So if I'm using a supplemental glue on the back, the first thing I want to do is that all glues are not manufactured the same. So if you have a piece of scrap aluminum or a spacer part that you can use to test the adhesion, I always recommend that if you're using an adhesive that is not specifically, you know, declared to be used between wood, MDF, and aluminum, I would do an adhesion test. The second thing is this double stick tape is incredibly thin. So if you have a glue that has a build up, you want to make sure that you don't have anything. You would want to use a very thin, like a super glue almost, that did not prevent a strong adhesion, a strong bond between the tape and the panel.
Gotcha.
But
okay.
I do know that I've used quite a few. There's several different glues out there that I've used on products over the years, but I always recommend that you do an adhesion test before you hang something that is worth your memories, and you put it on the wall and put it on a nail. So you want to make sure to do your test first.
Thank you.
We have another kind of going up in grade. We have an aluminum hanger. The aluminum hanger is essentially a similar MDF, the spacer block. Once again, we have the spacer and then the metal hanger that has a slot at the top that has a key sawtooth, and that allows you to slightly adjust left to right if you don't quite get that hung, particularly in the middle. Gives you that a little adjustment. But once again, it has the spacer block has double stick tape on each side. One side for the face, the aluminum panel here, and one side that adheres to the print on the wall. Lastly, oh no, sorry, we have two more.
Is there, by the way, is there a suggested weight limit for each mount?
Most of the VHB tape that's used has a shear weight of anywhere from 30 to 40 pounds, which is, when you're using an aluminum print, that's a pretty large print. Once you go above 24 by 36, even 20 by 24, in my experience running a lab in my past, I prefer to use an aluminum frame on the back.
Which we'll get to, right?
I actually don't have any of those on in front of me today.
I have a couple of pieces.
Then I'll kick it back over to you. But that larger frame for those larger prints gives you a better presentation, and it also provides resistance from that panel bending. If you're carrying it around, because of its length and its width, you want to make sure that you have the strength and rigidity behind it of an aluminum frame. Or a wood. We've used wood frames, we've used plastic frames, but having that larger area and perhaps a French cleat typically works out better for your larger prints that you're going to hang on the wall. We also have a product, U4698, which is a bent aluminum hanger. It's a slot hanger. It's a little more, I don't know, high tech, if you could say. And it essentially adheres on the back with the 3M Vhb tape, once again. It's a little more upscale. It has a little more offset from the wall. And then for a larger piece, perhaps 16 by 20, we also offer a large offset fletched and black hanger spacer that kind of does the job of the spacer. It has 2 strips of the VHB tape on the back, and it has keyholes on both the top and the side, depending on how you want to hang your panel horizontally or vertically. Those are the primary hangers. I know we were just getting into that, talking about the offset frame. A lot of options are out there. There are folks who use wood frames. They built it inside so it doesn't appear. You could also do a float frame, which the panel floats within the frame, and the frame is on the outside, so it's a little more of a traditional hanging solution. And a lot of labs also will use aluminum framing. I know that we at ChromaLuxe no longer offer the cut to length parts, so those products are probably available through Condi as far as their hanging solution. And that's an excellent solution for typically anything above, say, 20 by 20 and up. So 20 by 24, 20 by 30, 24 by 36, most of your larger format aluminum prints.
Yeah, certainly as we get bigger, we need a full structural frame on the back with 4 segments, if you will.
Correct.
To give it good stability. In addition, one of my favorite ways is using standoffs and spacers. We offer 2 kinds of standoffs. One is the kind that you cut a hole in the metal, and then the other kind is they're an edge gripper. So you can install these on the wall and then slide the frame into place, and you've got a very elegant solution, whether you want the spacer in the metal itself or the spacer on the edge.
Yeah, those are really wonderful for commercial installations, office buildings, because obviously if you have something that's hung on the wall with just a single slot hanger like this, somebody walking back or walking down the hallway could brush against it and it could fall off the wall. So if you're looking for an environment where there's going to be a lot of traffic in an office space, the standoffs are really an excellent idea. They're very clean, very modern. They're also commonly used for directional signage. And once again, we come back to that fact that the ChromaLuxe aluminum product is highly cleanable. So a lot of people and a lot of offices are looking at going to products that can be thoroughly cleaned on a regular basis.
Yeah, for people that don't know the history, if you will, of ChromaLuxe aluminum metal, is that that coating technology was pioneered, invented by the folks at Universal Woods in Louisville, Kentucky. And the result is you've got something that's graffiti resistant, chemically resistant, scratch resistant. It's just absolutely amazing. I've actually done some crazy videos where I set it on fire. I think Universal Woods also did the same thing. So it's an amazing, we'll call it space age material, is probably a throwback term, but that's what it is. It really is amazing.
A very technical print material. And just as you have papers and other products out there, canvases, the metal is really well positioned for your photographers, for your customers who want that perhaps a little more modern look. It's very clean. It does not require a frame, but it certainly can be framed. I've seen a lot of tremendous artwork on metal, which has been placed in a traditional frame. It also very frequently, can work in the same environment where folks have acrylic prints or other modern art style artwork hanging on the wall. Obviously, you've got some large pieces there.
Yeah, I wanted to show folks exactly some of the extensions, if you will, of ChromaLuxe. This is what we would refer to as a stacked installation. So we're using the blocks again, but what we're doing is we're layering metal upon metal. And then, of course, on the back we have the aluminum mounts that you just talked about with a spacer block. Now, one of the things that I'll repeat, maybe it wasn't quite clear, is these spacer blocks are necessary to keep the metal from being parallel to the wall. Otherwise, it tends to lean in a little bit, and so it doesn't really have as good impact on the wall as it should. But this is really a fantastic example of a good mounting solution. And then from a value point of view, that is unbelievable. So it's a total of 3 layers, and you know, certainly might sell for $300, maybe $400. So this is for a relatively small amount of money. You've got something that is certainly worth a lot of money. I want to cover one more thing while we're at it, and that is the, trying to grab a piece, and that is the textured aluminum is, well, I don't want something to fall on me. Let's, okay. So we've got an example of a textured aluminum, so all the same rules apply, of course, except that it has a really just a completely new look. It's hard to get the idea of what it feels, but you feel a texture, and one of the benefits of the textured is you can use chalk and write on it. So it's really a cool feature. And it doesn't matter whether it's a dark area or a white area, the chalk does show up. Plus, you know, lots of colors of chalk. So that really comes into a point of purchase kind of signage. And that, I want to transition now, Kurt, into talking about ChromaLux going outdoors. Tell us a little bit about that.
Using Chromelux Outdoors, obviously it's a weatherproof product. Coming from the business where I used to be, I ran a professional photo lab for 15 years, and UV, or the sun's rays, are pretty much the biggest thing that will deteriorate your artwork. We've spent a tremendous amount of time making sure that our products are UV resistant and are what we call light fast. The materials are currently being, there's a big spot in the swamp down in Florida near Miami that has a large collection of our artwork in it as it's being tested. And the testing that we're hearing is very favorable. So if you have facilities, if you have a screened-in porch or a deck, my wife keeps telling me that the last house that we move into, she wants one of those big wraparound porches, and you can feel confident that you can place the artwork out on the porch, out on a screen porch, out by your pool in a pool house, which is kind of crucial here in Las Vegas. It seems to be hot about 10 months out of the year. But the ChromaLux products can be used in outdoor signage if you want to put them on an A-frame. And just like David mentioned, when we were, I was recently working with Condi at the IPIC show here in Las Vegas, and the people who were walking by were looking at these textured metal panels that we had written with chalk on, and they were just blown away by it. They clean up really well. So you can put that sandwich of the day or the deal of the day on it if you're putting signage out at a restaurant or pastry shop or something. But at the same time, it's a really impressive way to beautify your outdoor spaces in your home, on your porch. We don't recommend that you put artwork of any kind where it's going to be in direct sunlight for a large part of the day. But beyond that, the ChromaLux products will stand up to the weather. You can rain on them, you can snow on them, and they will last better than anything else out there on the marketplace.
Yeah, just to make it clear, there is a ChromaLuxe exterior grade metal, and that would be what you'd want to use if you are going outdoors.
Correct.
Yeah, I wanted to, as I look around here, this is the perfect room, Kurt, for somebody like me that has a bad case of ADD, because you know, you look in any direction and it's, I'm like a little dog. I'm just drawn to whatever. But back here, Bo, see if you can point back here. Huh? Oh, I have the magic thing. So, at any rate, if you look back here, I'll just point to it. Here's an example of sort of, you know, mounting on steroids. What you're doing is you're building a multi-panel, you know, installation display. It could be a dissimilar mural. It could be extensions of the main photo. But you know, you have lots of choices, and that's why ChromaLuxe is so powerful, because you're dealing with, you know, a blank piece of metal, and it's up to the creativity to figure out, okay, what does the client want? What's going to look good? And so, for instance, in our foyer years ago, I was mesmerized. Oh, this has probably been 10 years ago, by a beautiful photograph that I found of the skyline of Chicago. And you remember seeing that when you visited?
I do.
It's right behind our entrance, and I love to look at that every day. So I've got all my images, and Bo, go get one of my daughter. You know, the ones in the foyer. I'll show you. And I think when you were here, I showed you. My daughter was queen of the Mardi Gras organization that I'm in, you know, sort of 2 years ago. Because of COVID, it was canceled for this past year. And I can honestly say I went hog wild with ChromaLuxe. Isn't that a great expression for Alabama? Hog wild. And I really did. So I decorated a huge room, which was where the Queen had her reception, with metal prints from days ago, you know, years and years when I was young. So to give you an idea. And this is a piece of ChromaLuxe metal. I think it's probably matte finish, and it's just beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. So you can look at the kitties. You can really dress them up, can't you? You know, they do clean up well. So beautiful daughter, Victoria. Wanted to point out one other thing to people. As they're selling these things, you can obviously get a lot of money for them. One of the things you should keep in mind is that on the back of these, they will sublimate some. Now, they won't sublimate to the extent of what you get on this side, but on the other side, you can fold your transfer over, and you always want to sublimate referral information. It could be artist information. It could be, Bo's going to hand me something here, I guess, that has on it. It's a little hard to see, but this is just one that just shows you a little logo on there. But the point is that you really want to put information on it that is helpful to the purchaser. For instance, buying another one, or, you know, of course, recognizing the artist, something like that. And that's just, we'll call it an artifact of what you can do with ChromaLuxe. Kurt, while I am talking, I wanted to show you a little bit, which you, of course, know this, as to what you can do moving to the table mounts, okay, which is probably more along the lines of what many of us do. First this is a double-sided piece of ChromaLuxe. I sublimated both sides at the same time. Looks like a photograph from your neck of the woods, I guess, or, well, probably
out in the desert.
And then using a roll of paper, you curve it. And so we've got a video that shows you how to do that. But it's relatively rare but we carry a number of pieces of the double-sided ChromaLuxe. And so if you ever needed something to do with all those panoramic photos, this is it. Another thing is the built-in easels. Many of the table products have built-in easels that are part of them, where the picture goes or whatever. So that's helpful for standing. Also, this is we'll call it a table mount. It's a little piece with a slot in it, and you put it in here, and wow, you got that. And then also, with many of the ChromaLuxe pieces, you can put into them a kickstand. And so this allows you to either mount the product on the wall with the keyholes, or you can place this in here, and then you've got something that's self-standing. I used to joke, Kurt, that I had a 50-50 chance of pressing the plaque correctly, because I would get in a hurry, ADD would kick in, and I would simply press it and then, of course, turn it over, and it was a Las Vegas odds as to whether or not I did it upside down. So the great folks at Unisub decided they would simply cut holes everywhere. So no matter how you did it, you had your mounting holes. So that's a great compliment that keeps people like me from decorating my wall of shame. So,
well, David, one other interesting feature on that kickstand is that if you look at the way that the kickstand was engineered, you can use that in the bottom slot or in the side slot, and it will give you the same effect. So if you did happen to make a mistake and didn't have keyholes all the way around, that kickstand, I give a thumbs up to our new products team, because when I realized that, I was like, wow, somebody was really thinking 2 steps ahead when they manufactured that.
Gotcha. Wanted to circle back to the metal mounts. This is, does Unisub still offer this?
The framing?
Yes.
We are discontinuing that item at this time. Although, if you would like to buy it from our supplier, David, I'm happy to give you that information if you like that product.
Okay. So the reason I point this out is this is the material. It's basically these segments of aluminum.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the segments of aluminum that you would just simply, you would glue to the back of the metal where you couldn't see them, and they would add structure and strength to the metal being mounted on the wall. In this mode, you're framing it is what you're doing. And so it's sort of a, we'll call it dual purpose. So you can frame, you know, the ChromaLuxe. I don't think a lot of people do frame it, but again, it's out there. So bottom line is, as Kurt has found out over his long career, there is a tremendous amount of innovation in the display of ChromaLuxe products. Certainly, I love seeing stacked metal. I think the what do they call the mounting of ChromaLuxe on a frame, the floating mount.
The float mount.
I think the float mount is cool. I don't see that very often though. So again, there's a lot of innovation that essentially adds value to ChromaLuxe that allows you to make a lot of money.
Yeah, some of the, one of the original benefits, I guess, that when I came into the market back just after the turn of the century, was that, hey, this metal is great. You don't have to frame it. Well, just because you don't have to frame it doesn't mean that you can't. And some of the most amazing metal prints I've seen have been framed beautifully, whether it's in acrylics or woods, natural woods. It really goes back to having a pairing of an amazing image. Because let's be honest, without your artwork, without your design, without your photography, all of the products that ChromaLuxe and Universal Woods make would be blank. So the value of what we produce is only truly realized when we have you put your images on our products. But the pairing of that product, of that image, of that artwork with a beautiful frame, you know, I've done canvas. I've done a tremendous amount of canvas in my lifetime, but some of the most beautiful artwork I've seen has been on metal in a beautifully matched frame.
Gotcha. One of the things I want to mention is that of course we're showing large pieces, and most people do not have a big printer, a big heat press. But one of the things you can do is outsource those larger prints. You can outsource them through Condi. We have our print services here, or you can outsource them through maybe someone that is closer to you. I think you got some options there. But the point is that you should take advantage of these opportunities. It could be a new facility that's being built, a new wing to a hospital. ChromaLux is certainly a darling in the medical industry at this point because of its hygiene status and easy to clean. So partner with people, partner with that photographer, that wedding photographer, partner with the local artist that wants to have their artwork reproduced onto metal. Partner with the pet groomer, you know. You know, you take your dog to the pet groomer. Why not, you know, order a piece of metal for maybe your deceased pet? I know on my nightstand I have my golden retriever from years ago, Brinkley, which passed away, and it was one of my favorite dogs. And of course, as you know, Baron is my current dog, Baron and Bella. We've been into bee names for a long time here. So, you know, as Jesse James said, follow the money. And certainly dogs and pets, things like that are big. Bo, do we have any questions so far?
Can you double press ChromaLux? Are you only limited to the size of your press, or could you double press it?
So the question is, can you double press? And I would say that with solid backgrounds, I would say the answer is no. If you are doing segmented graphics with a blank background, let's say you were building a menu and you were doing multiple things, you could certainly get away with that. But if you have that solid background, you're going to see the seam where the two prints butt together.
And the surface of the ChromaLuxe panel, like once again, it's a technical substrate. It's a technical print medium, and the polymer chains open up to receive the ink, and then they kind of lock down. So while you may get transfer on that second pressing, it's not going to be as good a quality on that first pressing. That's why, as David mentioned, I too used to. I remember the day that I found out I could put somebody's logo on the back of my ChromaLuxe panel and offer that as an option to my photographers. And that feature, once again, the back of the panel it's almost like a happy accident that there's a polyester coating back there. So I took advantage of that. I always recommend it to my customers. Hey, let me put your logo on the back. Let me put your contact information on the back. Let me put a special Mother's Day or Father's Day notice on the back. Just like when you think of those black and white photos that you find at your parents' home that have the date printed in the edge. It's that little reference point that adds additional value to your artwork. And once again, as David alluded to, there are a tremendous number of medical facilities that have had to re-examine how they display artwork on their properties. And that's not just hospitals, that's pediatricians, that's dentists, that's corporate buildings. I have a lot of customers who work with architectural firms and interior design firms, and they get opportunities to replace the artwork that's been hanging in a building for 20 years, and they are not replacing it with canvas art or paper artwork. They are looking specifically for germicidal, heavily cleanable, and germ-resistant materials across the entire the build. So there's a lot of people doing a lot of changing out there. So if you have a business where you're out there printing or offering printing services to customers, and you have that opportunity to work with some architectural or interior design firms, I highly recommend that is reaching out to them, because it's really a growing market for the ChromaLuxe product because of its cleanability.
Oh, thank you, Kurt. One thing to keep in mind for folks that are looking at what we're doing, to my knowledge, there is no better product in the world for imprinting. No more durable product from its optical clarity, its color, every property in it. This is the best that there is in the world. And you know, it just so happens, because sublimation has become so ubiquitous, this is something that someone with a small desktop printer and a small heat press can take advantage of, as well as somebody that has big equipment. Mm-hmm. It's the same product, same quality, same results. So it really is a quite interesting paradigm kind of shift, in that you can deliver products that are the best. And so I recommend you try them out. Kurt, any other comments for us?
Well, just as you mentioned, coming from a lab owner of 15 years, the vast majority of ChromaLuxe that we did, we had a 20 by 25 George Knight heat press. What is that, a DK25S?
Yes.
Most amazing heat press ever. I grew the day that I sold it, and I tried to hunt down the guy I bought it from to beg it so he would give it back to me. But you can do 80 or even more % of your orders with a relatively small 15 by 15, 16 by 20, 16 by 24 heat press. You can get in the game, you can get into the business. And then, as David mentioned, utilize a service provider like Condi, or perhaps someone local who has access to a larger heat press to do those opportunities when they come along for the larger pieces. But you can get almost, like I said, probably 80% of everything I did fit on that original 20 by 25 heat press.
Yeah, that's right, Kurt. Bo, any more questions? Okay. Well, with Kurt's help, I want to extend a little bit of a free thing. Everybody likes something free, don't they, Kurt?
They do.
Especially in Vegas, right?
In Vegas, we
yeah.
Chicken, what is it? Winner, chicken dinner.
Yeah, so
we coined the phrase.
If you place an order of $100 or more, in the shipping notes, or if you call it into your sales rep, ask for the free Unisub sample box. We got a free Unisub sample box that we want to give you. I am told, I think I know where these are in the warehouse, but I'm told what they have inside is samples of all the different substrates that are available from the great folks at Universal Woods. So take advantage of that free offer. I'll extend the offer to the end of the week, so be sure to take care of that. Kurt, I want to thank you for your expertise, and we look forward to having you on for your other areas that you are knowledgeable of.
Well, I'm excited. I'm thrilled to be one of the folks here at Universal Woods supporting the amazing family down at Condi. I've worked with y'all. I was a customer for many, many years as I ran a lab. And until I came down for a visit a couple months ago, I really didn't understand what Condi was all about. And now that I do, and I've had the opportunity to work with y'all for a while, I couldn't be happier to represent you and to represent your company and to represent my company, Universal Woods, in getting you the products that you you know, you do so well. You represent us so well, and it's just always a pleasure.
So, in parting comment is, behind every great man is a great woman, isn't it?
That's so true.
And so your wife also is addicted to sublimation. Is that correct?
She is. I am in her space at the moment. My desk is not very attractive, and I figured for today it would be a good opportunity for me to participate in her little realm of crafting.
So she was showing me as you came on, showing me the camp mugs you did for your daughter.
That's right. Well, this is one of them. I think she took the camp mugs down earlier, but she saw Sprite do her camp mug presentation recently, and she had purchased a significant amount of product during your virtual open house, and she had gotten some of these, and she used the green camp mug up in from side, and she had pressed these up for my daughter, who just moved off to college this past weekend for her new apartment. And she's just going all to town. She got that Christmas in July box, and she has just been making stuff left and right.
Well, I'm sure she's there, so tell her we thank her, and let us know how we can support your efforts. And again, thank you, Kurt. Hope you have a good rest of the week, and we look forward to doing this again.
Fantastic. I look forward as well. And everybody out there, stay safe, and just remember that get those pictures off of your phones, get them off your computers, and please go ahead and print, because that's the way we preserve our memories and the things that we cherish most.
Amen. Take care. Thank you.
Take care. You're welcome.
All right, I think I can close here.